You're listening.
I just don't care.
No one is ever kidding Michael Cole.
Of course he can roll a grudge forever. This is wrestling.
Welcome to This Is a Work. My name is Shelby Death Ray Patterson, and I am not the owner and director of Long Walk Productions, but I'm still here anyway to introduce your host, Robert, the distinguished gentleman, Brafford.
Thank you, Shelby. Shelby is very kindly filling in on the soundboard for David Hensley, who is feeling a little under the weather tonight. So
yeah, we are so sorry, David. We're gonna miss you and
Get
your
some rest, man.
awesome, one-liners and banters that you like to, shoot in every once in a while. But hopefully, you will feel better when you listen to this.
yes, indeed. Well, unfortunately, I am not here with my usual tag team partner, Chris the Fashion Plate Barnes, just due to some logistics. Chris wasn't able to join us for watching the pay-per-view, so I am instead joined by my lovely and talented wife and co-host of sister show This Is a Takeover, Gina, bless your heart, Brafford. How are you, Gina?
I'm good, Robert. How are you?
Thank you.
I was really hoping we would make that joke.
Yeah.
Thank you for being on the same wavelength.
Hashtag how did this get made?
How did this get made? When Paul goes, hi, how are you, June? Oh, I'm really good. I'm really good, Paul.
And they're
Thank you
actually
very much.
married co-hosts.
So I also thought you were going to make a joke about like real life tag team partner, but that's better. I'm glad you did that one.
Yeah, I feel like that still works.
Yeah.
right?
We're not tag team
Yeah.
partners. I'm a snappily dressed manager.
Oh, he's your valet.
Oh,
I'm your
we're the tag
MVP.
team. Are we still doing that nun? Remember that years ago?
Yes. God, do you remember the name that we were?
We were like wine smuggling nuns or something like that.
Yeah, because it was the Bless Your Heart gimmick, right? We were playing off of that.
Yeah, years ago.
Years ago, and we were going to
man.
be a tag team of nuns.
Yeah.
So you can be our priest valet, maybe.
Yeah.
That could be your Captain Von Trapp.
This is becoming very sacrilegious, really quick. So I think we
Sorry.
should probably stop.
Yeah. Well, hi.
Hello.
Hey, y'all. Hey, it's
And-
Gina Brafford.
Just to clarify, Shelby will not only be running the soundboard, Shelby is also going to be joining as a co-host as well. So it is
Yes.
another This Is a Takeover crossover.
I'm really loving these crossovers that we're doing, and I've gotten some feedback from people that the people are liking it too.
Yeah.
So
here, people, just for you.
Yeah, I'm hearing that everyone's kind of liking how we're kind of combining stuff and having cool opinions and stuff.
I do feel a little bad because this has become a pretty AEW focused show, moving away from a lot of WWE.
There's
And
just so much.
Well, I want to assure people that's not like a deliberate decision. I just care about
Sure.
WWE less.
Well, I
So-
think that's really important for you to make that distinguish.
Yeah.
Distinctive.
Well,
That word.
Distinct.
Yeah, that word, yes. No, I am 100% serious about that because there is a lot of content out there, guys.
Yeah.
And
So much.
this is not our full-time job.
Absolutely
and if
not.
anybody wants to pay us full-time salaries to be able to do this full-time, I welcome it.
I know
Yeah.
you're listening, ignorant slut.
Yes.
I know you are our informant.
He can be our angel investor,
Oh.
right? Give us all,
All the
money.
wine.
I was going to say all that wine money.
Oh,
That would be funny if that was the wine we were smuggling.
Carmela!
Speaking of viewers, I'm going to be breaking tradition slightly. Normally, I have a beverage that I am enjoying during the pay-per-view and bring a glass of it to the recording session.
It is true.
In this case, I am going to be just enjoying a delicious thermos full of ice water because, well, Gina and I just had our wedding anniversary last week, and we spent a lovely most of a week in Charleston. A lot of alcohol was consumed, a lot of good times were had, and I just sort of feel like detoxing a little bit this week. So.
I had the full plan to do that as well, and then Shelby's like, I brought one of your favorite wines. I said, never mind then. I will have some.
I was about to say, Gina and I will drink for you, Robert.
Thank you.
We're drinking a Cycles Gladiator Cab Sav.
Lovely.
It's so good. It's not usually a Cab Sav person, like just a
Well, it
straight
can-
cab person.
Well, it can vary. Like, I think that's why there's no, set cab.
I'm usually a red blend girly, but right, Robert? Like, this is good.
It's good, right?
Robert has just taken a sip and is nodding in approval.
Oh,
Darkly jammy, earthy notes. This was
Stop it.
taken from a vineyard over which thunder frequently cracks.
You know what?
The sun does not rise directly on these vines. It reflects off the slope of a nearby mountain.
You know what? You're not far off because this is a Washington-based wine. So
Get out
there you go. Boom, baby.
Boom.
All right, so we should probably get around to mentioning what the actual pay-per-view
Sure,
we're
go
doing is.
ahead.
This will be...
Oh, this isn't a wine podcast? I missed that. I made you
It became one briefly when Roman was in his 4th year as a champion. But
It's true. All of us were just drunk the entire time we were reviewing that.
so, yeah, this was AEW's Full Gear 2024 out of New Jersey. I'm forgetting the name of the arena. It was Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey.
Y'all, I'm mad at y'all.
Why?
New Jersey's
This-
audience sucked.
No, oh my God.
This was an uneven crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Guys, I'm calling you out. What the hell?
I mean, I know not isolating any portion of our audience here, but like it is colloquially known that Jersey's crazy.
Wild.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it's a wild west up there.
Yeah.
Right? So I was very
Everything is
shocked.
legal in New Jersey.
Exactly. Hamilton said it.
Hamilton's.
Well,
Right.
Moxley certainly took that to heart.
Yeah.
Yes.
But honestly, that's something we can kind of get into a little bit because there is a general mood around in a lot of social media. And I think if you're watching AEW's TV programming, that the product has cooled off just a little bit, that it's not quite certainly not as red hot as it was in 2019, but not even the place it was a year, 2 years ago. And I think this pay-per-view, in a lot of ways, it has a lot of what the company does really well, but there are also some things that I kind of find myself looking at and thinking, yeah, I hope they can straighten that out. And there's also stuff where I can see what they're trying to do. They're still finding their footing, but I think overall it's encouraging about where the company's going. But yeah, going to be interesting to look through this as we discuss it and just sort of go over sort of our feelings of where the company is right now,
Yeah.
what needs to be changed, what's still great, what's still a lot of fun about it. But yeah, so shall we dive in?
Absolutely. Go
Tally
for it.
ho.
All right, so as we've started to do previously, I'm going to kind of skim the pre-show, just kind of mention what the matches are, give kind of an overall score.
There were less matches on the
There
pre-show
There were
this
only
time.
3 matches on the pre-show. We had Anna Jay versus Deonna Purrazzo, a 4-way match with Buddy Matthews, Dante Martin, Commander, and the Beast Mortos. And finally, a match that would probably be a big deal if I had the slightest idea who one of the participants was.
Yeah.
Big Boom AJ versus QT Marshall.
Can I talk about this match for a second?
You're going to have to, because I've
Okay.
made a point of refusing to find out anything about any of
Okay.
these TikTok folks.
I am not a TikTok girly. Everybody knows that I'm not.
Yeah.
But I have seen the reaction to this match from the like general public. Everyone is loving this match and wants this guy. They want AEW to sign him.
All joking aside, like it does exactly what you want a celebrity match to do. It gets
Yeah.
a lot of eyes on the product. You've got someone who is clearly very game, who's showing up, put some work in to really learn what he's doing. Like I wouldn't put this guy in the tier of like Stephen Amell or Bad Bunny, who actually full on became pro wrestlers, but he was up there.
apparently He used to be an indie wrestler.
I was seeing that, yeah.
Yes, so that's kind of where this
That
all
makes more
started.
sense why he could-
So apparently him and his sons, they're called the Costco guys.
Yes.
So the 2 smaller ones are his children.
Yes, they
Okay.
are.
What else would they have been?
Yeah, the smaller ones are the children. Yes.
It's TikTok. I didn't think.
You know.
No, I get it.
That's fair.
But
I thought one of them could be just like a different camera cut doing a different accent.
I mean, no one knows what's real or fake on TikTok, right? So
Lord.
anything can happen. But apparently they got really overdoing this on TikTok. And I guess he's, talked about him being a wrestling fan of AEW in particular. And then it just came out that he was also an indie wrestler at one point or wrestled like amateur wrestling at some point in time. And so I think that's kind of where this happened. And apparently QT Marshall was all for this guy and like really gassing him up and like really wanting him to be in this pre-show, and he wanted him to be in this spot specifically because I think we talked about this
To get people to buy the show.
Exactly.
You want to
It
see what
was-
happens next.
like this spot on the pre-show in particular is supposed to be the spot where like last minute stragglers or people who may not have had the intention to buy will last minute buy.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't remember what it was the last time, but the the last show that we did for AEW, that match was definitely the one that they put there specifically for people to be like, oh, well, I really liked this match. I liked that guy, so I'm going to buy the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good strategy, right? So I think by putting this guy who has millions of followers on TikTok and is also a wrestling guy on top of it, I feel like it's a smart thing.
Yeah, it's the best way to use celebrities in wrestling. Again,
And the pre-show.
Yeah, sell tickets,
honest.
eyes on the product, and the fact that he actually put on a decently solid match, despite apparently having a broken foot.
No way, I didn't hear that.
They said it didn't happen in the ring, but it happened ahead of the match. But he decided, he got it taped up and went in because he didn't want to disappoint
he
people.
that shit.
Basically, yeah.
Well,
and QT obviously was working with him to make sure everything got through. But
good gracious, you know what? I give a little point there. But also with a foot, there's not much you really can do at that point.
Yeah,
unless you're in a boot.
Yeah.
Tape it to shit.
Tape it and go.
Must have been.
Yeah.
So some grit on that guy. I have to respect it. Honestly, overall, really, really solid pre-show. I thought the 4-way match was also a lot of fun.
That's because you love Mortos.
I do love the Beast Mortos.
Sorry, Robert, but Buddy Matthews is so over.
Which
Dude,
I am
he's killing the game.
Also very okay with. I mean,
beefy tiny man.
the dude's married to Rhea Ripley, so I don't imagine he feels a lot of uncertainty about his place in the world. But it's got to be rewarding to hear the chants and to realize how hot this New Jersey crowd is for him against these other guys in the ring.
Well, especially with it being Beast Mortos, he is kind of the new big thing right now. So having
a lawyer too,
having them, cheer for Buddy over him, I think says a lot.
That was pretty cool.
So just quick outcomes. Anna Jay pins Deonna Purrazzo with a quick roll-up. Buddy Matthews does get the win in the 4-way. He gives Dante Martin a curb stomp to break up a pin and immediately rolls him up, which was a pretty cool quick ending. And then, AJ pins QT after his powerbomb finisher, which is called the Power Boom. So
I did like the little touch where I guess boom is his catchphrase or his thing, and I want to just have Adam Cole just pop out and be like, hey dude,
he just kept sticking his head out from the top of the ramp.
Me. I'm doing the thumb pointing to the head, but I also like that QT had Doom all over his gear, and I didn't
notice that.
I thought it was a funny touch.
That probably is my dyslexic side kicking.
It's his thing is boom too.
Well, I mean, wasn't it something about wasn't there an explosion or something he had early on? No.
In whose?
QT.
I think that was Colt Cabana.
Yeah, Colt Cabana was the other.
There it is.
Colt Cabana.
Boom, boom. Yep. Okay, there we go. Thanks, Brian.
Overall, I give the pre-show 3.5. Just really solid. I think it did what it was supposed to do, hyped up the crowd, got viewers excited to see what happened next. They also did something that's been, I think, pretty smart, is they end the pre-show with the entrances for the opening match. So you see the tag teams start to come out to set up the opener, which is going to be a 4-way match for the AEW Tag Team Championships between Private Party, the Outrunners, Kings of the Black Throne, and the Acclaimed. I don't often say this, but this tag match was kind of underwhelming from AEW.
I love the pause there because I think we're all thinking it. I was very underwhelmed by this match, and I was kind of upset about it just because they had Private Party win in such heroic fashion on that Dynamite, and I kind of was hoping that their first title defense would just be against another team, and not a 4-way where, in my opinion, it's very kind of obvious that they're going to win. They kind of have to win at this point, or else it's kind of going to disgrace the tag division, in my opinion, and kind of show some pitfalls.
Well, not even that. In my opinion, when you have that many, in a way, you can plan out more moves from other people and showcase that more, and then at the last minute be like, oh, and the champs win. So it's almost like they could oh well, maybe we just don't push them too far yet, and just have other people do the work, and then.
Well, that is kind of what happened, right? They didn't really get much offense.
See, that's sort of the issue. Is
it felt lazy.
They had this whole build to them beating the Young Bucks, and it sort of feels like, okay, they've finally taken their spot. They've reached the top of the mountain after 5 years, and they're ready to stand tall as like the best tag team in AEW. And then, yeah, you have a match where they're kind of the ones you forget about, because you've got, in a four-way match, whether it's tags or whether it's a singles, every person needs to have kind of the thing they're doing. That's why you usually have like a big guy, a flying guy, you have a technical guy, you have the weasel heel. You pick like a mix of elements so that everyone just is like a different note in the composition of the match. And in this one, you've got Kings of the Black Throne. They're these dominant badasses. They're the ones who are bringing the most offense and the ones that everyone else is most likely to gang up on. Mm-hmm. You've got the Outrunners, who are the really hot new act. The crowd loves everything they're doing.
Funny.
So they can pause for the pops and the spots and just give the crowd those moments to really get on their feet. And then with the Acclaimed, you've got the story that Max Caster has gone from being kind of an ambiguous douchebag to a full-on douchebag.
I just want them to break up already.
Yeah, that's overdue.
Well,
Like, I can't stand, like, when they tease a breakup angle for so long to the point where they did this with Sasha and Bailey.
Oh
right?
My gosh,
there was that
they
one
sure
time
did.
where they just teased it and teased it and teased it, and then they brought it back in. And they teased it and teased it and then brought it back in. And it was for ages, and I kind of feel like this is what they're doing with the Acclaim, to the point where it's like, okay, I really don't care when you break up. I just want it to happen.
And then there's the opposite effect, because they teased that little bit of a breakup between Private Party when...
Yeah, that was the stakes of their match with the Young Bucks.
But that's never been addressed again.
Well,
That's never been... Like, they had one moment where he was like, when he set that stipulation...
Yeah, where
and
Isaiah
he's like,
put that
hey,
on the
wait a minute,
line
hold
and-
up, wait, what?
Yeah, and
But
Quinn
then
made it
they
seem like
went,
he
and
was-
it's like, okay, cool.
So I think with that, you've got something that you could explore later. That part doesn't bother me so much, but with the Acclaimed, yeah, you've got... Bowens is just such a natural babyface,
so good.
and like to the point that the crowd literally just goes from like cheering when he's in to Caster steps in the ring, and you get literally like "F you, Max" chants going.
This is when you need to pay attention and listen to what your crowd is saying, and just go in that direction. Like, they needed to have put the rocket on Bowens for a while,
It's
right?
always-
And he needs to break out.
I
Like,
want him and Claudio.
that would
As
be
a
a great
team?
match.
No,
Oh.
for the Continental Classic.
Well,
So
yeah.
they've announced who the Continental Classic's going to be,
Oh, yeah?
and
Yes, the brackets for that.
yeah, sadly,
Oh, let me see.
Bowens is not going to be in that
Ah,
one.
boo.
Are you
Um,
serious?
Yeah,
Oh my
it seems like kind of a
gosh.
straightforward thing,
Nice.
Wow.
but let me just real quick go over.
Tony.
Let's
We
see.
were saying that last year that he needed to be in the C2.
It's always
Right?
been a thing with the
Literally.
Acclaimed. They're always like a step behind when what the crowd is ready for, because everybody was ready for them to go over Swerve and Our Glory, to the point that they had that big pay-per-view match where the crowd was so hot for it, and
Yeah.
people were like, they should have called an audible in the ring, just had him go over right
Yeah.
there. Then you have them do the trios thing with Daddy Ass, and then their weird long semi feud with the Bang Bang Gang.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, so they're going to turn on each other and have a match, right? And that just all sort of fades out.
Yeah.
And now, yeah, they've been teasing this breakup angle for a while. It's really weird for a popular faction with some really talented people involved to just be, so kind of constantly behind the eight ball on it.
That really basically took me out of the entire match altogether, because there was at one point where like Caster was trying to get Bowens to pin him so that way they could win, and that's a spot that has happened in the past and it never works, in my opinion.
It's also
because
annoying-
that's against the rules. Like, that's not how you win.
So sometimes you can technically, like, it's possible for members of the same team to both be legal men. It doesn't really work in this match because there's no way to track who the legal man is,
See,
because
my-
nobody's in their corners.
Exactly.
Like, people are just jumping in and out of the ring at will. You could have told me that, like, any combination, and I'm pretty sure other people start trading pins without any tags happening. So
Yeah,
it's just...
See, because I just thought it was Knox messing up and being like, you're oh shoot.
See, that's what it comes across as, is that it doesn't come across the way that I think they want it to.
Yeah.
And just
But I
their
also am
their
ready to judge him.
dynamic just really, I don't know, it took me out of the match, and it even made me forget that, like, oh yeah, Private Party's here.
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
lost in their first pay-per-view title defense, which is
That's
unfortunate after
sad.
the build they had. And I've got hopes for their title run. I think they can do good
Sure.
stuff, but yeah, this was a way that just kind of made them feel like an afterthought, which you hate to see.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. I want to see them do more high flying. They used to do like a lot more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like high flying, kind of like coordinated moves together. I don't feel like I've seen as many as they used to. Like they had like their finisher, like where they do like the
gin and juice.
Yeah, which is a great name.
It's a great name for a
finisher. Great name.
So yeah, fine match ends up with Caster and Bowens have a miscommunication. Caster tries to go up for a mic drop.
Of course,
gets stopped by Turbo Floyd, and that leaves him vulnerable to a gin and juice. And I think it's Isaiah Cassidy who pins him, so Private Party can retain. Yeah, I gave it a 3. Like it's
Regals.
I like a lot of what's going on here, but it's disappointing. It's the wrong mix of elements. Like the wrong. I don't know why I'm going on all these weird different metaphors, but it's like it's like a dish where all of the seasonings are all you can taste, instead of like what's supposed to be the entree, which is okay, these champions having their first defense. And
I think that stands by my point earlier that it should have just been a match against Kings of the Black Throne,
or literally any
of them, right? And
if you wanted to push that story, just put Max and Bowens in there.
Honestly, I think it would have been cool to see Christian and Nick Wayne or somebody give him like a good heel faction against them, and also set Christian up so you think he's had his moment and forget about him until the end of the show.
And remember that that's a thing, dude.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. So let's see. Moving on from that one.
Also, we did not talk about Anna and Deanna. Sorry, ladies.
It was fine.
That was rough.
She had to fight for that match, by the way.
Yeah.
She's from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Deanna did.
She's from New Jersey. Yeah. She had to fight for that match. They gave it to her and had her lose. I think that's all you really have to say about it.
No, I know. It's just that we just literally like whoosh. It's like, sorry, ladies. Like, damn.
Yeah.
That's not your fault, though.
Yeah, we can talk about it a little later when we get to the Mariah segment. No. But yeah, I would have booked a few things differently, especially regarding the women's division on this one.
As always.
Let's see. So we have, honestly, next up is the match that personally I would have picked to open the show: Maxwell Jacob Friedman against Roderick Strong. Because this is a good one. You got MJF, who's usually pretty good at firing up a crowd, and honestly, it's a quick, nasty match between two guys who pretty convincingly sell just wanting to beat the crap out of each other.
Yeah, no, I know Gina's looking at me right now. I know that she thinks I'm going to bash on him, and I kind of am. But I really do love Roderick's in-ring work.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I really do love watching his matches. I think he is one of, like, the best technical ones that they have on that roster, and always has been.
His backbreaker, like, I feel my back pop just like watching.
He can get someone into a backbreaker from any position that he has them in the ring.
His
which
ability
is insane.
to rotate guys when they're up in the air to where he needs to drop them
whatever
is just
size
insane.
they are, too.
Yes.
Because MJF is a solid guy, and I mean, I really did enjoy this match. I see where they're going with it. I just think the build up to this kind of left more to be desired.
And this
for
is
me.
Kind of where, like, one of the places where I want to sort of step back and look at like the bigger picture, because this is a case where the scores for the match itself for me would be very high, but it's got to go down because the angle is kind of a jumbled mess.
Yes. Agreed.
You've got this story that dominated most of the end of 2023 of Adam Cole and MJF and the reveal of the Devil. And then, MJF takes time off to recover from his injuries. Cole is out with the leg injury. And now they're both back, and it feels like they're trying to jump ahead to where the feud was supposed to be at this point if they'd both been telling the story uninterrupted.
And then Max goes and keeps getting cast in movie stuff.
Yeah.
And that's also not helping the case either. Like the segments were great, don't get me wrong, but that also didn't help. Like, he wasn't there.
It was very
but
he was at his mansion.
Yeah.
Wherever he was, right?
With that lady giving massages.
And, like, it was very clear that it was a background of some sort, and he was acting on his set.
Somewhat in his in defense of that decision, I will say, admittedly, if he and Roderick had been in the same ring holding microphones for a promo, that would not have gone well for Roderick.
I wouldn't have wanted that. I would not have wanted that. So I definitely would prefer what we got versus that.
That would have been beyond a roast.
But I feel like I just wish that they didn't even include the possibility of a triple threat in this. And that's just my opinion. And just have him against Roddy, have him just demolish him, right? And then Cole can come out and find a reason to want to defend him, which I guess in the end he kind of did. But then...
Kind of seems like he should have come out before Roderick got his hand smashed in a chair.
But I think, I don't know, maybe this is because I am such a Undisputed Era stand, and I have seen them and their feuds and how they operate. This has Undisputed Era written all over it to me.
Yeah.
Because I think what's going to happen is it's going to sow the seeds of dissent, and then it's going to reveal that, you know, there was some deeper plot that Adam was a part of, and he fed Roddy to MJF, or like, I don't know. Like, to me, I think there has to be more to it, or else then the storyline leading up to this is just shit for no reason.
I feel like they need to, because it really is an issue that nobody is acting like MJF has legitimate reason to be upset.
Yeah.
That they're spinning it as Cole just being like, yeah, well, I had to do this to get one up on MJF, which is fine because he would have done it to me anyway. And that nobody is just being like, I don't know, that seems like kind of a garbage argument.
Except one person.
So even when Kyle comes at him,
But yeah.
Kyle's calling him out and just saying, like, you can't go with MJF. He's going to be 3 steps ahead of you. He's so dangerous. And it's like, the whole devil plot was about Adam Cole playing MJF like a fiddle. Like, this is...
I think this is an instance, Robert, where long-term storytelling doesn't exist because they both got injured, or they both had to be away from that overall story to actually make sense. And I think they're just being like, smoke and mirrors, prestige. This never happened over here. Look over this way.
Yes.
Like, that story didn't happen. We're going to start to tell a different one over here. But we're like, that actually wasn't that long ago. We do remember what you said and what you did. So I can see why you were saying that, but I feel like that's what they're trying to make us believe is that, okay, that's not happening anymore. We're telling this story over here.
Gotta be quicker than that.
And this used to just be one of the great strengths of AEW, though, was that you could see this thing that like happened in Hangman Page's match with Omega that called back to like their first match 3 years prior. Like, this used to be all about like things tying back, and it's just it's a sloppiness that you sort of hate to see, even if maybe just the way things worked out with injuries and recoveries, some fuzziness was unavoidable. But
I think they're trying to start over, right? And I think the story that they were going to tell was going to be really great, and now it just doesn't make sense anymore. And I think they're trying to move on from it and tell something similar but different. Yeah. Right? But I just don't know. I agree. It's really kind of clunky. So, like you said, the match itself is great.
I actually really like just the ending of this, which is you have the, I think MJF hits like kind of a brain buster on Roddy with like the last of his energy. They both go down and are just exhausted. Neither one's moving. And Roddy drags himself over to drape an arm across MJF's chest. And MJF just rolls him over into that salt of the earth armbar. And it's just like, okay, that was a great bit of like playing possum that leaves Roddy with nowhere to go, and he does tap out. So I was like, okay, that's again, a lot of great spots like that all the way through. Great match, but just marred by a story that just made it hard to really know what we were supposed to root for.
And
so
also all the build-up crap that MJF was talking about with like Roddy's parents having no understanding of his personal background. That was wild to me, to just have that like a bat come at, like, you know, not a physical but, you know, metaphorical bat of like bam, and your mom shot your dad. Like, that's wild. Like, normally there's a build to get to that really deep stuff.
And I kind of, I don't know if this is necessarily in the same boat, but it kind of feels the same when Jericho brought Jay into the conversation. It's like, okay, you didn't earn that.
Yeah, you couldn't save this
right?
for...
Like, you didn't necessarily earn... Like, this feud did not earn you going that deep and going that far.
Yeah.
So, it then makes it seem like, okay, well, that was weird and like, random.
That was intense.
And then you're like, oh, shit, is that true? And then you Google it, and then you're not paying attention to what else is happening. Yeah. Right? So, it's like when you say something like that just for the shock value... it just, I don't know, it doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't make the feud elevate to the level that you think it's going to go to.
MJF is at his best when his heel behavior is coming from like a very particular chip on his shoulder, like something that is in his background. You can see what he's covering up. I mean, that's what made his feud with Punk and his feud with Moxley through, or really his feud with Regal, but with Mox as sort of as the go-between. It's what made those really work, was just like, okay, this is where he's coming from, and this is what makes him like this. And other times it just feels like, okay, he's going to grab the crowd and throw some shots at Jersey for the cheap heat, just because that's what MJF does.
Well, apparently on his gear, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the B that was on his jersey or his ring attire or whatever was the Bruins B.
Nice.
And it's I do appreciate little things, little details like that, right?
MJF, you're a bitch.
But I feel like there really wasn't any reason for this match to really happen.
No.
Other than for Adam to run in at the end and then have Kyle come in and sow those seeds of dissent.
Yes.
Right? Which really, Kyle was kind of already doing that anyway because he's with the conglomeration now. So like it doesn't, I don't know, he's with a new crew now, so he doesn't necessarily need to be with them anymore. So like, why did he come out?
Well, not only that, that was his whole thing in the beginning when he came over. He was like, I love you guys. You've been my brothers. I want to do this on my own.
Yeah, he's found a cool new family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I gave this one 2 1/4. Just good in the ring, but just the story is so lackluster, and it made it hard for the crowd to invest. That
it makes a difference.
Yeah.
It does.
So let's see. Moving on to something that an unexpected bright spot on the card for me: Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander for the AEW TBS Championship. Rewatching this, I really liked this match. I think this might have been the best defense of Mercedes' title run so far.
I can agree with that. I definitely will say that I enjoyed watching this one the most out of anything she's done at AEW.
Yeah.
I will say it's about time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Gina and I have been quite critical of her since she's come over to AEW.
Sorry,
and I think it's reasonable, to be completely honest with you, because
I mean, even before she came over.
I think that she is another person like Roddy who her in-ring ability is better than her promo skills. And I don't think it's always been that way. But I feel like since she's come over to AEW, and I don't know if this is a choice, and maybe I'm supposed to feel this way. Maybe I'm getting worked over by this, but like, I don't want to hear her talk.
Her presentation is always very sports entertainment. It feels like it
doesn't fit with everything else that's there.
Yeah, she's one of the people you can tell is kind of a, root to branch like WWE person. Like, she learned how to do promos in WWE. She learned how to wrestle in WWE. And
NXT, baby.
most of the AEW people, worked the indies. Some went through WWE, some didn't, but they've got their own style. It feels rougher, and that's usually part of kind of the appeal. She just has such a polish on her that worked really well in promos with other people who knew the WWE style, but makes her look kind of artificial compared to how everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think that's kind of the point that I think I was trying to come across, exactly, because it's just like her and Chris together worked really well in the ring.
Yeah.
I really did enjoy it, and I had Chris to win this. I wanted her to win it, but at the same time, I just don't know who is going to take it off of her at this point.
I don't think they do either.
Unless if they're building to Camille taking it from her.
They're definitely building to that match. I just don't know if that's going to go Camille's way.
Which, once again, the same story of someone in a tight-knit group, and one person is just getting berated, or one person's going their own way, and then the other person's getting left out and getting crapped on, and clearly they're going to then rebel, and they're going to have their own thing. Like, this is Bowens and
Well, even specifically with AEW, and again, they didn't invent this, but they're a big fan of it, is the heel with the big guy who backs them up, and just the big guy gets abuse and abuse and abuse, and it builds the crowd up to want them to turn. It's it was MJF and Wardlow. It's
Bill and Jericho.
Bill and Jericho, Christian and Lucha Killswitch. Get well soon, big guy. We miss you.
I really do miss him.
Oh man.
But please take your time so that
Yes.
you're healthy.
That's always been a thing they've done, and it's kind of falling flat with Camille, I think, just because she hasn't gotten a chance to get over in the way that, like, the crowd hated MJF, but they wanted Wardlow to give him what was coming. I just don't think they've had the chance to connect like that with Camille.
Yeah, I think they may be trying to rush that.
Yeah.
Maybe because with Wardlow and MJF, it was a slow burn.
Yeah.
Right? It had, felt like it was ages before Wardlow even looked at him funny. Right?
Yeah.
Versus, like, I feel like we've skipped all of that time, and so now we're just kind of like, oh, okay, so I guess we're waiting for her to turn.
And we also,
Now, like, you're not really invested as you were with Wardlow.
we also only had like a month or two of Camille as the muscle, and then she lost to Statlander, and since then Mercedes has just been treating her like a chump. And
I did find it kind of funny. There was a promo backstage that they were doing on a Dynamite, and they tried to run Statlander over with a car.
Yeah.
And then Mercedes just berated Camille for actually not running her over and not killing her.
But then immediately switches it. And it's like, I can't believe you tried to kill her. And I was like, which one is it? Crazy? Like, psycho lady? Like, what?
Well, her hair symbolizes the duality of her nature.
Oh, I see.
So I actually have like a little bit of a different opinion with, in regards to, I almost said Sasha Banks. With,
You owe Vince McMahon a quarter.
No, he doesn't get a dime from me.
Oh, he's got that sweet government money coming in from his wife's new job.
Nope. Anywho. I think that Chris Statlander and Mercedes, they can wrestle really well, but I don't feel like they are consistent in the ring. I had this problem with Mercedes and in WWE because I still remember to this day that Charlotte Flair and her match when it was the ring, when they were in the cell. That's the only one I remember being like, that was good wrestling from her. I don't feel like she is as good, and it kind of frustrates me more so because she just came from Japan, where that's like some of the best wrestling on this planet.
Yeah,
And-
but she was injured for a lot of that time.
which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true.
So she didn't. She was in Japan, but I don't know if she was like really in it.
True.
You know.
I think that she's clinging to the idea of like, this is all I know for the personality thing. But when she goes somewhere, she doesn't like, and if the injury is a part of that, that's fair too. But she's not taking in. She's only presenting what she has. I
Sure.
don't think that she soaks in and learns. She's just like, you want me because I'm me. And I don't know how much that's acting anymore and how much that's her.
No, I think a lot of it's her because I've heard, some things about
She
like
went into the movies and thought
Right.
that was going to be a thing. And
But I also, and maybe this is just me being the NXT old lady over here. I'm very nostalgic for the old Sasha Banks of NXT.
I did miss that.
And
I miss the Becky Lynch who used to jig.
yeah, that I could deal without. But like, stereotype aside.
Yeah.
But her and Bailey, their match in Brooklyn for NXT Brooklyn
oh man,
was one of the best, not just women's matches, but one of the best matches I've ever seen.
I'll need to go watch that.
It is breathtaking, and the storytelling is so good, and both of them are just so talented. And again, this is when they were younger, and this is just me with nostalgia colored glasses on, but at the same time, I do know what she is capable of, and I do know what she can do.
Yeah, maybe that's
So I think that's maybe why I'm like, I'm holding her to a different standard because I know that she can do this.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like she is doing it.
I'm going to come at it from a different direction. And Millie, this could be me just more charitably interpreting something that doesn't deserve it. The messiness of the elements that I think, because neither of them are the most polished performers in ring as well, but it had sort of more of a desperate fight feel to it in a way that
yeah, sure.
you don't see in women's wrestling all the time. You see it a lot more now, certainly, than you used to, but just the idea of Mercedes as someone who is realizing that she has a massive size and strength disadvantage here and is just getting, like, she starts trying to, use running knee strikes and diving. Like, she does a lot of meteoras to try to both strike from range and also get Statlander off her feet, which makes sense. And then when she realizes that's not working, she starts trying to attack her knee to destroy her base for power moves. And it's
like the psychology's there.
I like the psychology of the story, and I like the desperation of it, that it doesn't feel like this was her plan when she got in, but she's having to improvise on her feet, to the point that, the go-home on this one is Statlander gets her up for that package tombstone. They call it the Saturday Night Fever.
I love the name of that move. It's so good.
And Mercedes just bites her on the knee, just like, just right next to her, which is just a great little, like, okay, what can I do from here?
Disgusting. Like, just gross.
Disgusting.
So good showing from Statlander is just like the face who is, above fighting that way right now, but it comes back to bite her, literally. And just great showing from Statlander as an athlete. Like, that 450 splash that she misses and just lands like flat. That looks so brutal.
I did enjoy having the TBS title on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Very true.
Because I honestly, and we can get to this later and probably shortly. I am enjoying this a lot more than what's going on with the women's world title, right? And so I hope that we can get to a point in the timeline of AEW where we can have a good storyline and feud going for the TBS title and a good storyline and a feud going for the women's world. I just feel like we are literally going like one or the other. We can't have both at the same time.
And stop sending all of these new women you keep recruiting to ROH. Like, don't get me wrong, fantastic. But I miss Ember Moon. I know that's not her name. Athena. Sorry.
Oh, God, yeah.
I miss Athena would have literally, like, and maybe that's her preference and that's her choice. That's fine. But Taya Valkyrie was there for a while and she's still fantastic. She's a hilarious, and fantastic wrestler.
Yeah.
Like, there's, even Deanna. She was here for 2 seconds and then literally was scooted over to ROH.
Yeah, I think it's weird that there's so much...
It's lesser. It's not lesser.
I mean, it gets less TV time and the buy rates aren't as good. Like, I mean, that's just the hard and fast data. Like, not as many people are seeing them over there.
Yeah.
It's weird that there's so much crossover with the men's titles from Ring of Honor making it to... Or maybe it's just the world title, especially. And
wait a minute.
I'd really love to see Athena come, defend the women's title on a pay-per-view. That
a title for title.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right? Like, if you own both of them, Tony, right? Like, there's no one
Did you forget?
There's no one you have to compete for that, right? You don't have to, like, it's not like a TNA WWE crossover shit. Like, you don't have to fight for airtime on this. You own both of the companies. Like, that, I honestly, Robert, I had not thought about that till you just said that, but that is a really good point.
Yeah, just to have her, like, in the same way that we've seen, Mark Briscoe defend his Ring of Honor world title on a show. Just like,
Ding
doesn't have
Robert.
to be every time, but
it could happen sometime.
So, yeah.
Occasionally.
So yeah, this is a case where, again, I'm not wild about where the women's division is currently in AEW, but this was, I thought, a really just strong match. Good showing from Mercedes. One of several relatively clean wins by heels on this evening. That
Agreed.
While Mercedes is fighting kind of dirty, she doesn't bring in any foreign objects. She specifically tells Camille to wait in the back while she comes out.
I was about to say, including Camille.
Yeah.
Which is only going to make things worse, by the way, because she won without her. She's going to be absolutely terrible to Camille.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I liked this match, and I liked that. I thought it was interesting that you don't have the normal amount of heel chicanery in this card until they're saving it up a little bit for the end, and even there,
it's coming.
Yeah. I'd like more corgi time too, please.
So I gave this one a 4. I thought this was actually one of the upper tier of the matches on this card.
Sure, I would have said 3.5 Regals, but 4 is good. I'll take that.
So next up we have Hangman Adam Page versus the Switchblade Jay White in a rematch from their Wrestle Dream contest. Not totally sure about the reason for this one, apart from just these guys are still mad at each other, that they don't feel like they resolved things with the last fight, which is fine. When you're doing 12 shows a year, you can have that happen occasionally.
Answer me this, because the people who are listening to this most of you have seen this show. That's why you're listening. With what happens at the end, why did Hangman have to lose this? Like, I don't understand why they keep having him lose on pay-per-view. Like, or just not just on pay-per-view, but just like in general with this.
Yeah.
Because not that there has to be an even exchange of, okay, you win, now I win. No, you win, now I win. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just, are they playing up that he doesn't care anymore? Or is it just like, I don't know. I'm just very confused on where they're trying to push him.
Where I would put it is he's still a very dangerous physical threat in the ring, but he's also in a really uncontrolled place mentally and emotionally. So a savvy opponent is able to outmaneuver him. That Jay White isn't able to really match him blow for blow, but he's able to anticipate where he's going and think ahead and get in position for the moves he needs to do in a way that Hangman, despite clearly trying to match him counter for counter, can't quite keep up with. So I think it works as a way of just making him, again, he's aimless now. That for a long time, just finally getting his revenge on Swerve was such a driving force. And now that that's finally done with, he's still got that anger, but nowhere to focus it. As always with Hangman, the story is he's his own worst enemy.
Yeah. I think also, like, the setting the house on fire was amazing. That is one of the wildest stories in our time period, you know, for our, like, formative years of wrestling. What do you follow that with? You set a man's house on fire.
Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at, is that, like, after his feud with Swerve, I can't think of anything else that I've enjoyed, you know, minus the Danielson stuff. Like, I don't know what I've enjoyed more this year than Swerve and Hangman.
It's been so
right.
good.
So, like, maybe that's what's making this a little bit like for me, is that I'm like, okay, well, why do you hate him so much? Mm-hmm. What's different? What makes him different from Swerve? Right? Like, you had all of this anger towards him, and he's still there. He was on the pay-per-view with you.
right?
There. Like, you still hate him. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I wanted to see them fight forever.
Yeah.
And
we all did.
I just didn't want it to end.
Did.
And now it just feels like, oh, okay, I'm like, he's moving on to something else.
I wanted to turn babyface.
I think they'll get him back there, but they're going to take their time.
I want his wife to come in and chew his ass.
You can't go from burning a house down to babyface, right?
Yeah, fair play to AEW.
Apparently Adam can.
No, he was off television for 9 months.
I was like, his ankle exploded. He had an excuse.
It sure did explode.
Yeah, so I would say where they're putting Hangman is he's just, I think, in light of what happens at the end of the show, I think they're positioning him as a wild card. Yes. As someone who's just
dangerous,
like a grenade that could explode in any direction or all directions, and you don't quite know when. But this guy is clearly about to lose it in a whole new way,
like a wizard in D&D that just casts fireball. He's
focused on Jay White because I think Jay is just the guy in front of him right now, and stepping in sort of a meta way, this is also about how you build up Jay White as a credible main event guy again after he was injured and also a little bit badly booked for the last. So again, I can see where they're going with it. I hope they pull it off because I think Hangman as a character is one of the great stories across the whole run of AEW.
Agreed.
And I have absolute faith that he can go wherever they need his character to go. I still like this as a match.
Yeah.
Bit of a step down from their Wrestle Dream, I thought. That one just had sort of an unpredictability.
Yeah.
I gave it 3 3/4. Ends with actually sort of a remix of their Wrestle Dream match where Hangman goes for a buckshot and Jay White tries to catch him with his Blade Runner. Hangman's ready for that, counters, goes for a Deadeye. They counter around a little more. Hangman rolls him into an ankle lock. Jay pushes off the ropes and then spins very neatly into a Blade Runner, which I love a good abrupt finisher.
Yeah.
Like you can have match, and bam, he hit him, match is over.
I mean, that ending sequence up to the finish was so smooth. Like, it was so pretty to watch. So
he's a good worker.
I did enjoy this match. Maybe I'm having, like, just Swerve and Hangman, like, in depression. Is that the word?
Post show.
It's a hard one to follow.
Yeah.
You know, like when you like work on a show for a very long time, and then you like create a family with the cast, and like you really like get to know each other and like enter each other's lives and everything, and then you like in the show, and then you're just like, okay, well now what do I do? My life was consumed by this. It happened a lot in college, right? Like
I'm going through it right now with Secret Garden.
No, I'm sure, because your life gets consumed with, you know, whatever it is that you do. And maybe that's what I'm feeling, because we had Hangman and Swerve for so long, and it was so good that maybe it's just like, it's like Hangman is with a new boyfriend, and I'm like, no, you need to be in this relationship over here. You guys were so good together. Why did you leave?
I would say we didn't know how good we had it, but we did. We knew we were watching something.
We sure did.
We
knew this was an all-timer when we were watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after the match, as Jay White's going up the ramp, Hangman attacks him from behind, and Christopher Daniels, who despite his EVP salary still cannot buy a damn jacket.
I said it the last episode. He looked like a vice principal that is chaperoning a school dance.
I was at least impressed that the shirt was the right size.
Which is not a bad dynamic for like the guy just trying to manage the rodeo backstage.
Yeah,
but
true.
Yeah,
Come
so
on, man.
He tries to break it up, and he goes back with the Elite a long ways. He and Hangman have history, but it does not stop Hangman from flattening him with a right hand and storming off backstage. So, yeah, the aimless, angry cowboy is still at large in the building.
Still haven't seen any report saying that Hangman Adam Page has been suspended for striking an official.
Hey,
you know, but we'll see.
I feel like if Daniels suspended everybody who attacked him, they wouldn't have a roster after a couple of weeks.
That's very true, because poor thing gets just wailed on all the time.
When your world champion is smashing people's hands with hammers and and suffocating people, I guess you allowed a tolerant atmosphere in the locker room.
That's to say the least.
All right, here we go. Let's. This is the moment on the card. It's like when the Balrog shows up in Lord of the Rings. It's like when Darth Maul ignites a second lightsaber blade. We have the aerial assassin Will Ospreay against his former best friend, the protostar Kyle Fletcher.
Just crack my knuckles in my neck for a second.
This was awesome.
Oh my God.
We talked about how
shit.
like the gulf between like what Mercedes needs to be for the aura and what they brought her. And it'd be easier to equivocate on that more if you didn't have Will Ospreay, who is clearly worth everything that they spent to get in there, every deal they made, because this guy does not miss on pay-per-view. He doesn't miss generally, but especially just show up, deliver a match of the night, and go.
I will say, I love Will Ospreay. I mean, new wrestling husband, love him dearly. Mm-hmm. I will say, Kyle Fletcher, dude, in this match impressed me so much. I've never seen, I don't want to say never because that's hyperbole, but like it is hard for me to think of another wrestler off right now that has changed everything about himself and has made himself just so much better in such a short amount of time, because I feel like this was Will going to them and being like, I want to make him look the best that I possibly can.
Yeah.
And he did, right? But he didn't have to do much, because Kyle just, with his new look he's changed his moveset with this new character change. And I'm just like, I feel like they need to give him a world championship at some point. I really feel like it would be appropriate, because maybe not right this second, but like if he keeps going the way that he's going, like I could definitely see him in that top spot, like eventually.
The positioning of him as one of the big new heels in the company was something that I was tentatively optimistic about, but not sure. But yeah, you said it perfectly. Like in a single match, this guy shows everything, and you're just like, oh, this is who he can be. Okay.
He goes from the background character in the Don Callis family that you even forget that he's even there.
The only reason we remember is because his hair never ever was, toned the right way.
Yeah, but he fixed that, Gina.
Fixed it.
He
shaved it
live on TV.
He pulled a reverse Samson.
Oh my gosh. Like it just his whole lead up to this match too, and then having Will come back, you know, and like beat on him and then set this match up. Like it just, I don't know, like it really got me, like the lead up to this whole thing. And I mean, we do our Wrestle League predictions. I had him winning, and I had this as my Joker.
Are you serious?
I was that confident.
Kyle?
Yes, I was that confident that this was going to happen because of the lead up to this match. I was like,
bro.
I don't know. I just had this like feeling that like this was going to be match of the night and that Kyle was going to take it because he has the most to gain out of anything from this, right? Because Will has won so much since he's come into this company.
Damage that.
Nothing's going to damage him in defeat, right? If anything, he like this match was like Kyle had this match won at that tombstone pile driver on the steps, right? So everything after that, like Will was just kind of going off instinct. So Kyle had this won before he actually had it won.
So every time Ospreay has one of these matches, there's the same round of complaints on social media from the usual suspects, which is just that. Well,
I thought you were going to like cough and say the name.
That move should have ended the match. Why are they? Oh, can you believe? No, none of these guys are selling. What is this about?
None of them are selling. What are you talking about?
I will admit, there are parts where I'm like, okay, I kind of understand why you can see something that crazy and think that should be the end of the match.
Yeah.
But what drove me insane was people were sharing that clip of the tombstone where Kyle jumps off the apron and tombstones Fletcher onto the ring steps, and they're just like, and the match didn't end right there. What happened to selling? And I'm like, okay. The match is over there. Ospreay does not get offense again. He barely manages to kick out back in the ring, but Kyle's just finishing him off at that point.
Also, Kyle is choosing to continue this match. Like, that's part of the story, right? Like, that's furthering the blood feud that they have against each other. Like, he could have ended it there. He could have dragged his ass back in the ring, pinned him 1, 2, 3. He would have been gone. But he didn't.
And the tombstone's nothing compared to the pile driver or the tiger driver.
Yeah.
Like, you can't, like, so that literally can kill people.
I will say,
you know what I mean? Like,
there was an interesting bit a couple of weeks ago. I think Kevin Owens gave a pile driver to Randy Orton on WWE television. Just your standard pile driver.
Yeah.
Which, because that move has been banned on WWE television for a very long time, was treated as like a, oh my gosh, get the medics in here, get Randy out on a stretcher. And people were like, this is how all moves should be. And I'm like, I understand why you would say that. But wrestling has moved from where it was 25 years ago.
No,
and when you're in a place like WWE and you can control your environment to the extent that they can, yes, you can choose to say, you can wave your hand and say, this move shall not be seen in our land. Right. And that's how it's going to be.
Right.
AEW exists in a world where other wrestling companies also exist. So, yeah, they can't just pretend that people don't do this stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And yeah, I don't agree with those people.
Yeah,
there's a lot of I can say I've been one of those people that are like, really, you kicked out of that? Like, what? How did you kick out of that?
There's times and places,
but in this match in particular, that move and then him continuing, that showed me it's a deliberate choice. You are deliberately furthering this match because you were like, nope, I'm going to make sure he is in the ground, like DED dead 6 feet under.
Character change.
Yes.
Physical change. Move set change. This was an undertaking and truthfully could have sunk Kyle Fletcher if it wasn't done right. And he nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He nailed it. And it's not that... I think the thing that, for me, I already knew he was good. Like, move-wise, in the ring. Fantastic.
Yeah.
He's not petulant with wanting to be... In the sense of, like, oh, my God, like, shut up. Like, Monet petulant. Mm-hmm. It is like, I am frustrated. I want to be good. Like, no one is seeing me. It makes sense. Like, I kind of side with him a little bit. Like, I'm not saying like...
but like being in Will's shadow.
You were keeping me down. You claim you were helping me, but you were just like, every time you raised me up, it was so you could use me as a stepping stone.
And in that same breath, you also know that that's not really him. And that's Don Callis talking to him. Like, there's so many layers to this that just work fantastic. It's like a bloomin' onion. And
there's layers.
And not only are there layers, they're all crunchy and delicious.
And you know what else, Will? I got myself a girlfriend who's tinier than your girlfriend.
Oh, no.
Oh gosh.
I don't know why. I just find it so amusing that Kyle Fletcher is a giraffe of a man and his girlfriend is like
You
5'2".
always have had a thing about
I
height
just
difference,
find that
though.
funny.
You think it's funny
cute.
in actors. You think it's funny in
Yeah.
I
wrestling.
mean, in my mind, I'm like, how does that work?
There's a clip.
How does that?
Hey,
There's
how
a
does that
clip-
work?
There's a clip of them working a match in some indie thing, and she does a Canadian destroyer on him, and it's just the fun. It looks good. They make
That's
it work, but it's
adorable.
I'm
yeah.
Googling that.
That's adorable.
Yeah, remind me to look that up later.
And
So-
talking about the crowd earlier, they woke their
This
ass
got
up.
them.
This got them, which thank God.
Thanks,
Osprey
Jersey.
has an energy when he comes in. Just the sound of that music hitting. And he came out like serious. He had like Punisher gear on. He didn't do the
there
the
was-
Osprey
No,
No
thing.
assassin gear.
But
I kind of like, I don't know if this was like intentional or not, but you could kind of feel the crowd was like, Osprey. And then when they saw he wasn't right, and they were like, Osprey, Osprey. Like they were like, wait. Should we? Okay, Osprey.
the answer is yes. You should always chant wrestling crowd as long as it's not what.
I
Oh,
know, but it was just so funny that it was just like they read his expression
Yeah,
and they were like, wait, does he not want us to do this? Oh no. Oh God.
How many chances is it, babe?
It's 2.
It will always forever be 2, not 3, right? Yeah.
I can tease you. I'm your wife.
For listeners who aren't aware, when we were at Revolution, we actually got to see Osprey's first match as a fully signed member of AEW against Konosuke Takeshita. It was amazing. But at the end, when they're playing his music after he wins, I'd forgotten that he has the 2 Osprey. So I was trying to do a third chant and constantly confused why I was the only one yelling in the crowd.
In your defense, that was his first match
Yeah,
at
no.
AEW, and unless you were a fan previously and saw his New Japan stuff, you wouldn't know that. So you were also not the only one in Greensboro that didn't know that. So
There we go.
it's okay.
Also, I'm doing the bit. I'm coming to get wine.
Oh, yay. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to talk while Gina is moving. 'Cause-
For everyone who-
watch the mic. Watch the mic.
Obviously can't see. I am outside the booth today since I'm acting as, producer and co-host. And Gina is coming out of the booth to get wine. So yes, Robert, please vamp.
Yeah, so it's always hard to talk about Osprey matches without just going to a list of spots, but there are some crazy bits in here. He hits him with a Styles Clash and a Hidden Blade. There's a great part where, again, speaking of people who wrongly think Osprey doesn't sell, he tries to go off the ropes in a handspring and his shoulder just buckles beneath him and he just goes down on his side. It's like,
I want to meet these people who say that my husband does not sell because I want to meet them. I do, because I don't think, maybe minus Kyle O'Reilly and Ricochet, I don't think I've seen many people sell like he does.
I was going to say, would you just want him to die?
yeah, it's the thing of Osprey.
Have you not met me? What kind of wrestling fan do you think I am?
Osprey is a master of selling a fighting spirit. That willpower is holding his body upright, despite the fact that
Like
as
muscle
soon as he
memory.
gets backstage, he is going to collapse into a pile of jelly. But
Yes.
by God, he's going to finish this match.
Yes. And that's different selling. I think that's the thing.
People, you're using that word. I don't think you know it is what you think it means.
Well, no, they're just like, oh, when you sell, you die. And it's like, no, there's different selling. Like there's different acting.
yeah.
It's wild.
So great match. A thing I will
Match of the
say,
night for me.
Absolutely.
same for all my. I've got reservations about this card, but there were a couple of people who needed to show up and accomplish something, and all of them did.
That's fair.
Like I think
Yeah.
Kyle Fletcher needed to. I think Mercedes needed to.
Yeah.
Orange Cassidy and Moxley both needed to get there. Yeah, all of them just delivered when the company really needed it. So yeah, I gave this one 4 3/4. Just
I straight
good
up gave this a
match.
4.5. Regals.
So you gave it less?
Wait, 4
I said
what?
4 3/4.
3/4. See, I was a theater major.
We didn't have to do math, you see.
No, all I do is type in the numbers at my job. I don't have to add and subtract.
So next up after that match, we have Mariah May's Champagne Championship Celebration.
Oh.
Now, before we get into what happens here, if I'm the booker, what I do is I take the feud that Anna Jay and Mariah had across Collision, where Anna actually beat Mariah in an eliminator match and then lost to her in a rematch and then challenged her to a no DQ to make it a best out of 3 series. I put that match on this card. Let Mariah defend it, give Anna Jay, who's become kind of the go-to street fight person in the women's division.
Yeah.
Give them, and also have a gimmick match, because this card, unusually for AEW, did not have that many, I don't think it had any stipulation matches.
No.
You are correct.
No,
So-
I mean, 4-way's not a
Yeah.
stipulation, so yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
So have that, and then end that with Mina making her return, and then set up the champagne celebration on Dynamite.
That would have been so much better than what we got.
I hate to say this, because I would have, much as I love both people involved, I would have bumped Takeshita and Ricochet off this card.
I
and
was gonna say
put
that.
that on television and
Yes.
put the women's world title match in that spot.
I was gonna.
Damn.
Honestly, I was gonna say the same thing when we got to it, because it doesn't mean that it wasn't good, but like we have so many good matches on Dynamite, right?
Yeah.
We have so many good title matches on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Like, what was the purpose of this champagne celebration taking up pay-per-view time? I just
See,
don't understand.
Here's my thinking. I'm actually mad in a different sense. I thought Tony was coming back.
Well,
I thought Tony was going to come in there and whoop her ass.
I've got some really
Yeah.
bad news for you. Tony did announce her retirement from professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Suck
left
it.
Wembley Stadium, never to be seen again.
Suck a lemon.
That's
in Japan.
That's so serious.
Yeah.
Serious announcement that was made for
Yeah.
sure.
Y'all, if that would happen, I would literally be sobbing.
No, but I can agree with you, Gina, because that actually was the rumor that was going around.
Yeah,
Because
people were thinking about
if you
it.
think about it on paper, if you were to see that there is her final celebration that she
Yes.
was getting to have, even though she could have had it in any other city, but she refused because all the cities were shit in her opinion.
But Jersey?
I think that's the joke. Right.
That's fair.
Right.
That's
So,
fair.
but
I'll accept that.
it seemed like that's what was going to happen, right? She finally gets to have her celebration with Mina, and then Tony comes out. But
And then,
are you,
I just
are
had
you
a
okay?
thought. I'm imagining.
Oh, no.
I'm imagining Mariah having that moment and sipping her champagne, and then she looks around her and she realizes everything has turned black and white. She can tell, and she knows what's about to happen. Like just a moment
That
where she's
would've
like,
been
she's looking at like
awesome.
something in her hand that was red a moment ago, and she's like,
it's the giver. See, and the other
That
thing
would have been
is-
way better.
Well, that, and not only that, like, then Mina would be in the middle and be like, oh no. Because that would also
How
fuel
do I
that.
choose?
Like, how do I choose?
But no, we just
They're
got,
all my friends.
I mean, we got the inevitable betrayal spot,
Which,
right?
to her credit, Mina anticipated.
But
No, she
I
did.
also want to give mad respect to that kick that she did.
That
that
was-
was sick.
That was a badass moment.
That was
They both come out
awesome.
wearing like floor length gowns. They've got like some leg slits.
Yeah.
But,
and
they're wearing high heels.
Chunky heels.
And so Mariah takes a swing with the bottle when Mina's back is turned. Mina ducks it, turns, and then does a kick at, Mariah's holding that bottle at like
Sugar
just below
glass.
shoulder height, and it goes flying out of her hand.
Just
No,
shatters.
it doesn't just shatter. It disintegrates
Yeah.
into dust. Like
Yeah.
it was. I
And
mean,
Mariah-
that was the best part about the whole thing.
And Mina
Beautiful
keeps her feet
sugar
under her.
glass.
Like she
Yes.
kicks it and just lands and then just holds the stair for a second. And then tackles Mariah off the stage into those tables. Oh. Which at this point have been used to catch wrestlers getting tackled more than they've actually been used to hold things up off the floor.
Also, one of them didn't break, and they bounced off of the first one.
So bad.
Yeah, that. You're back.
Yeah.
Not everything.
Yeah.
So we get a fun visual that calls back to when Mariah betrayed Tony, where I think Mina popped a blood pack, but she's bleeding from the
It
mouth.
had to have been.
Oh, yeah,
because
yeah,
there's
yeah.
really no
Yeah.
other reason
no,
as to
no.
why she'd be bleeding from the mouth.
And she kisses Mariah on the forehead, leaving a smear of blood, and then just stands there, but kind of crying and kind of screaming in fury at this betrayal. And that's, I'm guessing, setting us up for
I like
for the next
Mina
feud.
a lot.
I like both of them
Yeah.
a lot. I just think that Mariah's title reign has been nothing up until this point, and it feels like I had said earlier, that we're like, oh, well, we can't have two women fighting for the title, two different titles at the same time. We just can't, right? We
They
can't
used-
have a TBS like title feud, and we can't have a women's world title feud. Like, we have to have one or the other, because there was a lot of
The
time
brain cells can't
for
handle it.
her, for Mariah to have challengeable contenders,
Well, she
right?
had a great feud with Anna Jay, but it was, and I just don't understand why that wasn't something they used to build to a pay-per-view. Because, they've each got one win. That should be what sets up, the rematch on the big stage.
And then she comes in all of her, interviews with Renee and is like, everyone sucks. I'm better than everyone. I've beaten everyone. It's like, but you haven't. But you haven't.
Not
Since All
really.
In, her only pay-per-view defense was against Willow.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say, for Anna Jay, this is kind of a downgrade if you think about it, because she was feuding for the women's world title on Dynamite, and then is the first match on the pre-show. Like, you go from, I'm just saying as hierarchy goes, right? I'm not saying anything against pre-show performers, but like at the same time, you're not on the main card, and you were going for the highest title for the women at one point, and literally the next week you're on the first up for the pre-show, babe.
I wonder if they changed that. I wonder if Anna Jay was supposed to be involved with that, and then because Deanna was like, I am from Jersey, for God's sake, please put me in there.
There's other women. They have other women.
But they're like, what?
In my fantasy
forgot that.
booking,
Yeah.
where Anna Jay and Mariah have their match on the show, Queen Aminata takes on Deanna.
Oh my gosh, I
Hell
want her
yeah.
to come
Like, just-
back.
Hell yeah.
That would be.
That would have been a perfect person.
Yeah, she's been in Ring of Honor and I think doing some other TV work. But yeah,
See, another
So-
example. Came out, had fantastic, 4 weeks, like a month, on pay-per-view stuff.
Yeah, 'cause she
and
went
on Dynamite, and
Did she go against Mercedes? Or did she go against Camille?
she went against.
I think
Shit.
she might have done both.
I think yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like I remember her being in the
Yeah.
TBS
Yeah, I
sphere.
think she and Mercedes had a match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm remembering that.
Yeah,
now.
so it's like there are people
Tons.
for them to do it. It's just in their mind they have it. Oh, we only have one women's segment on Dynamite per week, and that's all we have. All we have time for, right? So we're like all of these women, like Deanna, who is perfectly healthy, right, and is just sitting
A
there
big
and is
pull.
also begging for a match, right? So it's like you have all these women that you could use, but you're regulating your one segment per week and then one women's match per pay-per-view. Like, it just,
It's like
I don't
Britt
know.
leaves and they don't know what to do.
I will give them some credit that they've been building to Julia's return
That
and
has
Jamie
been fun.
Hayter, and they're teasing a little more.
I need that to happen
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah,
She picked up archery now, so
Oh, those segments are fun.
those are
Beautiful.
She picked up archery.
For funsies.
Just her
Brody
inner-
just dropping her off one day and being like, "You're cool, kid, but you could be better at murder."
just
Your own murder, in fact.
embracing her inner Katniss Everdeen. Going out in the woods, just wha-pam, Legolas.
Legolas.
All right, so I gave no, I didn't give that anything. It was a segment, not a match. I don't know why I started to summarize that.
You don't need to give it
Yeah.
anything.
The kick gets a 3 from me.
Wow.
It was a really
It was a
good
kick.
It was a great shatter.
So next up, we have Jack Perry, the scapegoat, defending his TNT championship against Daniel Garcia.
Oh, stop. We're too white to say that. Don't say that.
That's how they say it in the part of Spain known as Barcelona.
Yes, please. Thank you.
So, curious to see where they're going with Jack Perry, because the Bucks are off TV for the foreseeable future, and Kazuchika Okada is going to be tied up with the Continental Classic tournament for the next couple of weeks.
I was wondering where he disappeared to. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, so I don't mind the Bucks taking a little time now that Moxley and his crew are taking over the show, but I did feel bad for Jack because I thought his heel thing worked really well,
Once
slid into
again.
the Elite.
Just literally, they just left him.
Yeah.
High and dry.
I mean, they left Takeshita too, but Takeshita's with the Okada. Sorry. They left Okada too. They just were like deuces. They're too scary over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do really love what Jack Perry's doing right now. I think it suits him.
It's a fun persona, like just that kind of
I like the bus.
slightly, yeah.
The scapegoat bus.
The bus.
Yeah, where he was tied.
He was tied to the front of that bus. It was awesome.
Oh my god! And the Mad Max of it all. Like
I
yeah.
actually can't believe I was going to say this. The final energy that Daddy Magic brought, that fits there.
I'm so
That
happy you said that.
Works.
As a hype man
But
for Daniel Garcia,
God's
that's a great.
sake. That's the level of bullshittery that should be at for his.
Well, he's also great as a color commentator
He
because
is
that's the energy
fantastic
you
on
need
commentary.
to have when you're
Truthfully,
I think
he
that's
is.
the best thing that they've done for him.
Yes.
Because, I mean,
Excalibur.
oh man, I loved him during this match too. Like
Yeah,
he
he-
really did add a really positive like wave to this match. I think because I mean I enjoyed this, but I also I loved the ending of this match because like the match itself to me was pretty solid still,
Yeah.
but nothing like stellar in my opinion. But just the ending and the emotion that was felt, like the crowd really got behind it once it was over. I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, it was solid, technical face, crafty heel kind of match. Again, not a lot of outright cheating on Jack's part, though there are a couple of places where he tries to provoke a DQ at
Yeah.
one point. Like he goes to the table and actually shoves Matt Menard, trying to get him to hit him, which would end the match. He brings the belt back in and goads Danny to hit him with it.
Literally holds it up to the referee at
Yeah.
one point, right? It's like,
Hey.
I'm gonna use this.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, I hadn't really thought about it like that, but yeah, no, he definitely was trying to get DQ'd, so it kind of got to a point where it was like, okay, well, I don't think I'm actually gonna win this, so I'm just gonna get DQ'd so I can keep the belt.
Yeah, he almost wins by countout at one point after putting, and that's a great moment with.
That was wild.
I always love those moments where so he, gets Danny on the outside of the ring, like throws him over some tables, and then literally empties a trash can on top of him. Like just the disgrace, like you are trash, like just, and then like throws the
Metaphor.
the announce, little hood thing, the announce table
Yes.
hood, like
Yeah.
on top of him. And I honestly didn't think he was going to get back in time.
I didn't.
Like it was very close.
I thought Daddy Magic was gonna grab him, and then that
Like-
would have been the DQ.
well, you could tell that he wanted.
He
to.
Yeah.
wanted to so bad. I was
Yeah.
like, "Put your hand
But
down."
he's got to do it himself.
He is the most supportive friend.
It really, yeah, just
He's
him.
been with him since he's
The
been
beginning.
with Jericho. Like they've
Well,
been
apparently
through
they went
a
back.
lot.
Yeah, apparently they go back before that. Like they
That's
knew
true,
each other,
yeah.
yeah, way
Really?
back when.
Yeah.
So yeah, great go home. Garcia finally manages to get him in. I looked up what the move is called because it was like a sort of a sharpshooter cloverleaf looking thing, but it's actually called the Dragon Tamer, and it's just so like his like cross leg Boston Crab kind of thing.
Did he name that one when he went against Danielson?
I think
I was wondering about
Yes,
that.
that
I feel
makes
like that's
sense.
what it
Called that.
was, because when he went against Danielson, he pulled something out that was similar to that.
Yeah.
And commentary called it the Dragon Tamer or like something like that.
Yeah.
And I've heard it be used ever since.
And it will also make sense because Jericho's Boston Crab is called the Lion Tamer. So
Oh, that's also true.
Garcia
A
would have his
great
version,
combo.
modifying it with that little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a great moment just because he bends so far back, he's almost lying on top of.
Gosh, my
I love that he taps out in this match.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Beats him by
that is the
submission.
most appropriate ending that they could possibly have. And honestly, having them be in this spot going after the Ospreay Fletcher match, that was going to be a hard spot to
and
go
they
after.
did great.
And they did. And you could tell the crowd was tired.
yeah,
They were
trying.
right, but they got him by the end,
Yeah.
right? And then having him at the end, and then Daddy Magic like saying at the end, saying it's been a year since the Continental Classic,
Gosh.
and him losing, and then
Man.
see how much he's grown since that. You could hear it in his
Yeah.
voice, like it was, I don't know, it was just, and then having his promo video at the beginning with his mom.
With his
Oh,
mom's
I forgot to mention that.
voicemail.
I mean, I heard that, I was like, okay,
Oh.
he's gonna win.
I had
He
this
has
as
to
my
win,
Joker,
right?
so
Like-
I was ecstatic.
Good choice.
I was ecstatic.
I got very lazy with my Joker. I'm not too proud to admit that.
Well, boo.
So yeah, I gave this one 3.5. I love the ending. Loved. It's so great to see Garcia with a singles title in AEW.
First
he
one ever.
has deserved it.
Absolutely. No,
indeed.
I'm excited
Cheers
to
to
see
Garcia.
where Jack Perry goes after
Yeah.
I
this,
am
because you're like,
too.
I mean, you saw the look on his face afterward. He's like, well, fuck, what do I do now? You know, like, the Bucks are going to be so mad at me.
Is it too late to enter the Continental Classic? Ah, crap.
Let's find out together, Jack. What are you going to do?
All right, so next up we have Konosuke Takeshita defending the International Championship against Ricochet.
Ugh.
This wasn't a bad match.
Wrong.
But
I've seen Ricochet do better.
yeah, I've seen both of these guys go at a much higher level than this.
Lord, we were there for the Ospreay Takeshita match. Like, come on, man. Like, we have seen peak.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what was off about this.
I wonder if it was a choice, because I saw there was a quote going around from Ricochet that he'd given an interview where he talked about not just wanting to be like the crazy high-flying guy in AEW, but to really show off that he was somebody who could carry a company, that he was like an all-around talent.
Which is true.
And this felt like maybe him trying to be like, I can do a match that isn't just backflip after somersault after invert, that was a little more slow, a little more strike and ground focused.
We needed to have someone other than Takeshita for that.
Because he is that guy.
Yeah.
He is the guy who's like, I can do whatever. So then you need a steady. I want to see him with Joe. I want to see him with Lance Archer. I want to see him with these monsters. Like, that I think will also help.
I'd like to see him with someone like Daniel Garcia or someone who's or Roderick Strong, like someone who's a very, like,
I'd be happy to see him with Adam.
Guy.
I was about to say, his matches with Adam and NXT
yes.
are pretty
oh my
legendary.
Gosh, fantastic.
They're both really great together. And his matches with Ospreay are legendary. But I see his point with that is that he has always been put with those guys.
Yeah.
Fair.
And so putting him with someone like Takeshita maybe could bring out something different, but Takeshita I don't think was the one for that, because he could literally do anything. He is a ground and pounder, but he's also a high flyer. He's also can do a lot of other stuff, right? So, like, I don't know, if you wanted to showcase a different style, you may have needed someone, I don't know, different than that.
That might have also just been a Takeshita, I love you. Please, can I have a match with you?
Well,
which is also possible too, because Lord,
but
if I was a wrestler, I'd be like Takeshita, Claudio, everybody.
Sure, but
Claudio.
you could do that on a Dynamite.
Yeah, this
You don't
could
have
have been
to
a
take.
TV match.
You don't have
That
to take
could've-
up pay-per-view time for that.
Exactly.
And harking back to what you said, when you could have had another women's match on the card, right? And this match was literally made at the last second.
Yeah.
This was not.
There was
This was not even on our
reason.
predictions for Wrestle League.
Yeah.
Nope.
Because it was so last minute.
When you said it, I was like, wait, what? And that's why I pulled up my Wrestle League. I literally was like, wait, what are you talking about? That's
Wrestle
not even on
League,
here.
give us money.
Hey, I have shouted Wrestle Talk out on this show so many times. I fucking love those guys.
Can we go with you when you go to a pub?
I mean, I pay them money technically.
You sure do.
I'm a part of their Patreon.
Therefore,
Transitive property.
I was going to say osmosis, but that's better.
No, see, when this match was announced, I was like, yes, we're going to get to see this, because I just had a vision of what it would look like. And I get why they might have chosen to do something different, but it's really hard to see this match and not be like, why aren't these guys both doing the awesome stuff they can do?
Yeah.
It felt very reserved. It felt very
Which didn't help with the energy.
No, it didn't, because the crowd was still trying to get back and shake off that fatigue from the Ospreay. Honestly, you wouldn't have been able to put that match anywhere on the card, and the crowd wouldn't have suffered, right? But I don't know. I wish I had better things to say about this one, because I love both of these guys.
I see what you're doing, Ricochet, totally. But we also know what you are capable of.
If it had been
I think
shorter.
that WWE made you feel like you are not capable of that. We know you're capable of that. Just like we knew Claudio was capable of everything he's done now. And, just honestly, anyone else who has come over here.
Do you think that maybe he is, because you said Claudio and it made me think about this. Mm-hmm. Claudio has really taken his time in AEW to build what he has done up until this point and created who he is as a Claudio character, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think that Ricochet might be trying to rush that?
I think.
And trying to, okay, well, I've spent all of this time in WWE, and I feel like maybe part of that has been wasted. So now I want to be over here, and I want to be the guy, right? And there's already so many people over here that want to be the guy and who are already in the process of being that. So, like, I feel like, are you trying to rush that? Are you trying to show a different side of yourself, like, completely, even though everybody knows you as this? So maybe you could just try to transition slower?
I think maybe? With Ricochet, my thing is that I feel like Ricochet borders real close on him as a human outside of wrestling and him as a wrestler. Prince Puma, big throwback, was a deep character, you know? And then for a while, he wasn't anybody other than, Mr. Flipman. So I think he's trying to get his footing, but still falling a little bit into the pattern that he's had for a while. The fast pace, the keep going. We're doing this. We're going here. You know, I got to do this, and I got to, like, show this, and I got to, like, they called on me. I got to go immediately do this. But I'm interested to see what feuds he gets into, and I'm wondering if that's what he's doing.
Sure.
So, Shelby, to touch on your point, I think one of the differences is that the vision that they had, that Claudio had for himself as once he was established in AEW, is different from what Ricochet sees himself doing. Because I think Claudio's been pretty upfront. He was like, Ring of Honor world title, but he said he doesn't see himself as like an AEW world champion guy.
What?
And he seems okay with that. Like that he's just, he loves having the matches he has, and I think he's at the point in his career where he's like, I can have great matches, I can do awesome things, and I can be part of these stories, but I'm going to be one of the guys in the story. I'm not going to be the guy. And
damn him for being a good
Gina,
presence.
you need to gas your man up, is what I'm hearing. Is you need
Look,
to
he's a dad, he's a husband, he's got stuff, what, he speaks 7 languages, like.
No, but I can agree with that point, is
That's
that
fair.
it's apples to oranges, but at the same time, you're in a different company, dude. You're in a different group of people. Like, you're in a different crowd. Like, yeah, like, people probably do know who you are over here, but there are a lot of, there's some people who don't watch WWE on the regular who are diehard AEW fans. So, like, you kind of have to reestablish yourself.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to get a chance because he is in the Continental Classic this year.
Thank God.
We've talked about, they've announced the
that's what I was
brackets
gonna
for
look
it real
up.
quick.
Yes.
I'm just going to go through and
please,
mention.
yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
sure.
So it's, Blue League and Gold League, and then they'll each go through their tournament, and then the winner from each will face off at, presumably at World's End. In the Blue League, you have Shelton Benjamin, Mark Briscoe, Kyle Fletcher, Daniel Garcia, the Beast Mortos, and defending champion Kazuchika Okada. Beast Mortos is in the Continental Classic.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Roar!
Only downside is I look at that list and I'm just like, shoot, Mortos is going to be the guy who eats the most pins there because
Yeah, but he's still in it, though.
Yeah.
Hey.
Like,
Baby steps.
as long as he doesn't have a Jay Lethal run in the Continental Classic and he at least gets one win, all right? Just one win.
So, and then over on the Gold League, we have Darby Allin, Claudio Castagnoli, Brody King, Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Juice Robinson.
I hope Juice takes every single one of those.
He's
going to eat it.
So yeah, I think
Honeycomb's man's gonna eat it.
looking at those combinations, we're gonna be eating pretty well for the weeks between now and
Agreed.
December.
Gosh.
So yeah, this match, Takeshita goes over and retains. Cool ending spot. He gives Ricochet an avalanche Falcon Arrow off the top rope.
Jesus.
Yeah. So it's a great go home. They get a little faster and higher at the end, so it picks up. But yeah, ultimately I just give it a 2 3/4. Just didn't need to be on a pay-per-view. Love both these guys.
Yeah.
I'm just disappointed because I know
It's
they
just
can
bad
both
booking.
do better.
I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed.
I respect you both for trying something different, but it was dumb and you shouldn't have done that.
What is it? Strong but wrong.
Mom disciplining you versus dad disciplining you.
That's a bold choice. It has no future.
That one. That's it.
I like that.
All right. So next up, we come to let's see. Our penultimate match of the night is the almighty Bobby Lashley in his singles debut for AEW against Swerve Strickland.
I'm just saying, I know this is low hanging fruit, but Jesus Christ, that man's a sweaty man.
I know.
He brought that with him.
He went to chest bump MVP, and MVP came back with a wet shirt. Like, it was soaked.
Ew.
Like, I'm sorry.
I wonder what gives him the sweats.
One of the few things that I took away from this match was just the sweat. And I'm sorry, Bobby. I know you can't help it. It's not something you can control. But I'm just, it's hard to get past. I'm just going to say that.
Do you don't think he's real? Like, everything he's got is real?
I don't think so.
Oh, no.
I think that's why. In that, one of the dogs will probably tell me later and be like, no, it's not that. But isn't that a possible symptom?
There's a lot of symptoms, but I
they
think
they drug test the shit out of people nowadays, though, right?
Yeah, it's possible that he's no longer on substances, but I definitely feel like he was at some point in his career, and he's but he also apparently has an MMA career, and I'm sure there are also tests there. So,
so he is still doing that.
I don't think he's competed since leaving WWE, but he made a point of saying that he's gotten the all clear from Tony Khan to book that stuff if he wants to. So anyway,
I mean, I feel like that would be a really weird dynamic, don't you think? Like doing MMA and wrestling at the same time.
Like, how do you?
We've got guys like, I know Jake Hager
but
did
he's
a
not
couple
here.
of things. But back when he was with AEW, I gotta imagine it's tricky to book around, and he seems like he's committed to being like a full timer on television. So I doubt it'll be happening anytime soon. But it could just be something he'll want to get back into.
I was actually kind of surprised that we had this match so early. I thought that we would have maybe teased this out a little bit. And maybe have, Lashley have his, because this is technically his second match in AEW because he had his first match on Dynamite kind of unceremoniously.
2 against 1.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know when I would have booked it, but I liked it, but I just thought this is kind of early for all that.
I think I like the idea of putting him against somebody who's established, to give him, because to have him in his handicap match just kind of squash 2 local jobbers, cool. And then you put him maybe in this match against, I'm trying to think, like, I don't know, Shane Taylor or somebody, who puts up a little fight but still gets crushed.
Yeah.
But you put him up against Swerve, who was a world champion not 6 months ago, had an incredibly hot 2024, and have Swerve on his back foot for most of the match. I like that for what they're doing with Bobby.
I liked where they went with this 100%. I was just, I was interested to, see that this was so early, in Bobby's run. I thought that this would we would get to this
they would start fighting backstage more, or just like other segments,
doing more drive-bys of Swerve in a fur coat in the parking lot, just hitting them over the head,
or just like they're like the locker room's been trashed, or
but I don't know. I never really. I don't know. Maybe this was just the booking that Bobby Lashley had in WWE. I didn't care about Bobby Lashley matches.
Not at all.
I
was like, oh man, okay.
Yeah, he was never that interesting to me as a competitor, and I think it's generally agreed the Hurt Business was when people started kind of looking at him in a new light, and to have that get kind of undercut and unceremoniously done away with is.
You can tell that this is what they wanted this to be. And they're having a lot more.
It's way cooler.
Yeah, they're having a lot more say in this. They're having a lot more choice. It's obvious that they care more. Because near the end, it kind of felt like.
I think they were stunted in WWE.
Absolutely.
There was a lot of pushback, and I know with Vince leaving and then Triple H taking over, there had been some rumors that Triple H really didn't like the Hurt Business, and didn't.
What was that quote, dear?
Well, MVP has told a lot of stories about a lot of people, and I'm not going to say that something 100% happened just on his say-so.
Sure.
But in his telling, he had to keep explaining to Triple H that the Hurt Business was not going to become the Nation of Domination 2.0, that it wasn't a black power group. He's like, I don't want you to bring Mark Henry and Farouk out for a reunion. Like, we are 3 guys, but we're friends who are supporting each other
Lord
in
have
violence.
mercy.
Yeah,
Sort of his
We're
attitude.
supporting each other in violence.
But that it wasn't about like, oh, that's not the thing that ties this group together.
Oh, he doesn't. And then, of course, he came out and said that whole thing. Oh, God. That doesn't make that any better.
That is MVP's account of it, and I'm not going to say for a moral certainty that that's how it went. But that is kind of a recognized weakness of Triple I don't see color H's booking.
There it is.
Honestly, though, because this was before Triple H took over creative, the New Day have a very similar story, where they had to fight for what the New Day became for so long. They were supposed to be a group of black preachers.
Yeah.
Right? And
No.
that was how they were supposed to be. And they fought tooth and nail to not do that. They were like, no, this is not who we are. This is not what we want the direction of this group to be. And very similar to Hurt Business, right? So, like, I applaud New Day, for one, for pushing through all that and it becoming what it is and what we know and love it to be today. And then also for MVP kind of taking the group elsewhere and taking it to a creative that has a different direction and will kind of want him to go in the direction that he wants to go in, you know? And I think it works. It's working so far.
I think it could. I think it's risky to try to take something from another company and just basically like, okay, same thing, slightly different name. But this is one of those cases where I'm pretty excited to see where they go. And I think this match, again, like we all said, none of us were huge fans of Bobby Lashley in WWE, but this is a great introduction to him in AEW. It's the kind of match that Brock Lesnar would have when he actually was paid enough to give a crap, where he's this like ferocious physical force and his opponent has to be like really smart and pick their spots really well to build any offense. But the second they lose focus, the second they give him an inch, they get run over by a train.
Yeah. And I didn't really get that feel in this match.
Oh, I was saying it because that's kind of the vibe I got. But
well,
I liked it.
I felt like there was more story, a little bit more story with it.
I was thinking like the good version where it's like Swerve is dealing with somebody who is he knew Bobby had a strength advantage, but is like kind of constant. I was like, oh crap, I didn't realize it was this. Like this guy was this far ahead of me.
Yeah, 100%.
So again, similar to Mercedes, it's discovering attack from a distance, running stomps and kicks. And, he's got those in his arsenal, so he's got that great moment where he does, like, a swerve stomp up the ring steps to drive Bobby through the table. Great match. Swerve looked overmatched but not weak, which is a tricky balance to do. Like, he didn't come out to look like a chump.
No.
But he also underestimated who he was dealing with.
Yeah, because, Swerve is cool.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm cool, therefore I will win.
He's cool, but then also the Hurt Business is cool. Or the Hurt Syndicate is cool, right? So, like, I don't think anybody really would lose in this match as far as, like, public opinion goes.
Yeah.
Right? This was not going to hurt either one of them. I mean, Bobby needed to win this one.
That's right. The
Like,
only thing where you're like, oh, like, I know he has to only because it's his second match. They have to give him momentum. But
yeah, 'cause
you
Swerve
can even
has
forget
it.
that for, like, a hot second. You're like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter.
So eventually, Lashley takes control. Swerve gets speared through the barricade. They end up back in the ring. He gets speared again. And then Lashley gets the hurt lock on him until Swerve passes out. So, yeah. Lashley goes over. And as they celebrate, Nana comes into the ring to check on Swerve. And Lashley just puts him in the hurt lock, too. Which, in a nice moment, the ref tries to break that up, tries to actually physically interfere.
The only time I've ever seen a ref put a hand on someone else when some other chicanery happens at the end.
Yeah, normally they just
He
yell.
physically put his hands on him and was trying to rip him apart. I was like, thank you, ref.
And then Shelton, knocks him
Yeah,
back.
and then he's just gets hit.
Did they give him any of his coffee to wake
I was
him
going to
back
say, are we
up?
going to get a discount?
Hangman comes out and goes through Nana's pockets to steal his weed.
No, not the weed.
His own special blend, leaves as plants.
Leaves his...
That was so fun because I was the only one
God, I
who knew
love
what
it.
those signs were referenced. Or had you
No.
heard that bit, Shelby?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Oh,
So yeah, everybody's like, "Why is leaves as plants
I was
getting
like,
chanted? Why
this
are
is
people
so
holding up that
dumb."
sign?" And I had to be like, "So Hangman's back on social media over on Blueski, but he's only tweeting about gardening, and he went off on a rant about how leaves is plants."
So my brain, before and knowing any of that, I was talking to Katie and I was like, this is just some random stupid thing that I'm not getting. I don't want to sit here and really like think about, is leaves plants? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is stupid. I was like, no, but now it's bothering me and it's under my skin and this is dumb. And then he said that. I was like, oh, thank God there's a reason. It's not just some fucking rando trying to mess with me. Because there's some signs out there, y'all. I
Yeah.
don't know what you be writing.
I'm sorry, but just
Leaves is plants.
leaves is plants.
It was a whole rant. He
It was an amazing.
had thoughts.
Newsflash, dumbass. Leaves is plants. That's literally what he said.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, I can't. Also, Blueski?
It's blue sky, but it's fun.
The S is lowercase, so that must be how it's pronounced.
It's more fun to say blue ski.
I've heard blue sky, but I hadn't heard blue
Shabluski.
ski.
That's
He
what I call it.
also clarified. Let's see. Did he say-
Is that what and you? This is my toddler mom showing. Is that what they call Bluey on the streets? Blueski.
Oh, we're not gonna get. We're
That's
not
the
gonna get
Minnes-
sued. We're not gonna get sued.
Yep.
That's
I
the
did-
Minnesota version of Bluey.
Oh,
Blueski.
gee, don't you know?
Yeah, he's Hangman has also said, "I cannot make my naturalist observations public because I have reason to believe there is a man who would track me down and stab me in the spine in my yard."
Oh, gee.
Dear Lord.
Which of several people could that be? All right, so yeah, I gave Lashley and Swerve a 3 3/4. Just great match, reintroducing Bobby, reestablishing the Hurt Syndicate, and I look forward to them joining up. And we know MVP's been passing out business cards, so there could be a new member before too long.
Oh, definitely. I'm excited for that.
I still think it'd be a fun twist if Max tried to join, only for them to stomp him down because Bowens is actually the one they wanted.
Oh, let's go.
That's a good story.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
All right. The only question is then what do you do with Max? Because you can't make him the face in that unless
Nothing.
he's actually
Nothing.
full on leaving the company.
The way you immediately said nothing.
No.
All
Nothing,
right.
I'm sorry.
So we are coming into the main event now, and good grief, we have been talking for a bit.
Yeah.
The main event, Jon Moxley defending the AEW World Championship against Orange Cassidy. We get the usual arrival of the Death Riders in the pickup truck. They pull up, everybody gets out. Even though he has just been driven to the arena, Pac is in his ring gear and dripping wet when he gets out of the car.
And Claudio always drives.
No, he's the dad
He is
of
the
the
dad.
group.
That's
like
right.
he's the sober dad that makes sure that everybody has a fun time and gets to do what they want to do. And he's like, I'll get you to point A to point B. But
And then shit hits the fan. I'm there.
yes, he always has everybody's back. But I did find that
Yeah.
really funny. That Pac is just like always ready for a fight. Just like.
Baby oil dripping.
It's like, where did you just come from? Actually, I
England.
don't want to know. I don't want to know where you just came from.
So they got there were a lot of great little moments in the build of this match, because Mox and Marina are the only two who walk in. The rest of the Death Riders hang back. On the way in, you can only see a little bit of it on the feed, but there are videos from the crowd. Marina was doing her kind of like everybody stay back, and she accidentally apparently clocked a young fan
Yes.
and knocked her off her feet.
rough
And
hit.
Really?
Mox went over, helped the girl up, and actually gave her a little kiss on the forehead before continuing to the ring.
And you can
and-
see him later. He's going, Marina, damn, not that hard. And she's like, sorry. Man.
And so the fan actually tweeted out and was just like, still kind of on cloud 9. Wow.
My God, I would have died. I think passed
My
away like
soul
right
is
there.
Up
And of
there
course,
in the rafters.
When they get to the ring, they hand the title to the official, as you do before a title match, but it's still locked in the briefcase, and Bryce has no key or means of opening it. So while you see Justin Roberts announcing the match, Rimsberg is in the back just looking over the case, getting visibly annoyed as he realizes he's just going to have to hold this briefcase over his head.
I'm just
Guys,
saying.
handcuffs.
I mean, commitment to the bit,
Yeah.
right? Like with this briefcase and not even acknowledging the
Yeah.
title
He's
at
not
all.
wearing it. He's
We
not
know
carrying
what it is.
Like I love it.
It's less about him having it.
I absolutely love it. Like from the moment that he won it, when he just he didn't even look at it, handed it to Claudio, he put it in the duffel bag, and then they went off.
Yep.
Like, and having it be in this briefcase that nobody can get into because he probably fucking swallowed the key or something. I don't know. But like, I don't know. I just love it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, again, it's the little details for me. That's the theater girl in me. Like, I love the tiny details like that. And
Grimsburg's the guy to do it too.
oh, absolutely. Because who else is going to fumble around with it like that and actually make it look interesting?
So this match feels less like a wrestling match and more like just a fight.
Oh, it was a
just
fight.
what this is.
There was nothing technical about this.
No,
at
it's
all.
just murder.
Justin Roberts is not even done introducing it before Cassidy charges across the ring and nails Moxley with an orange punch and just hits him with 2 more straight up to start the match.
Yeah.
So just from there, it is just brawling in and out of the ring. Cassidy gets busted open early, and for the rest of the match, there's just he keeps bleeding. I don't know if he's just too lazy to clot or something, but like he gets thrown into the steel steps, he gets pile driven on the ring, and just a smear just is left everywhere he hits.
There was one move where he had the crimson mask and everything. Moxley throws him into the steel steps, and he comes off, and there's just a red blob on the
like a
steel
paintball hit
steps.
it.
Like it did. It looked like a paintball smear like on it. It was disgusting. But like I agree with you. I'm like, he did not stop bleeding the entire rest of the match.
Yeah, that was a deep
It was
cut.
deep.
It's just a great way of establishing, because we've had, the Death Riders running around, beating people up, taking names. This is the first match I think Moxley has had since he won the world title. And it just establishes that, like, okay, these are a bunch of mean bastards. He is the meanest. He is just, he will dish out more damage than anybody. And the only way you can beat him is to absorb that damage and keep coming back somehow. And which plays into my theory of who is eventually going to beat him, but we can come back to that later.
My math ain't math in there, but I'm excited to hear it.
Cassidy is just, it's the beautiful thing of the face who is just getting back up. That's all he can do in this match. And he gets his offense, he gets his strikes in, but the main thing he can do is just take what Moxley is dishing out and not stay down.
Does anyone say that orange doesn't sell?
No.
Exactly. So your argument's immediately wrong, internet.
Shocker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't really have many notes about the actual back and forth. It's really great.
Watch
it's
it
brutal.
if you haven't, but I mean, you
Bloody.
have if you're listening to this. But anyway.
Yeah, so towards the end, Mox does get a little momentum behind him, hits an orange punch, a beach break. Mox manages to kick out, but he's looking a little shaken. At which point, Pac and Claudio come out of the crowd. They don't charge the ring, but they get up on the apron. Ref can't throw them out because they haven't done anything
They're
yet.
like, I'm just sitting here watching.
I'm here for my buddy.
I'm not doing nothing.
And then you have the conglomeration. I think it was Tomohiro Ishii and Kyle come running, and Rocky Romero come out, get them off the apron. They all start brawling up the ramp. The ref is distracted by this, which gives Marina a chance to come in with the case. And she's looking to Mox, waiting for him to give the okay, when Willow Nightingale makes her return.
And I popped so hard for this. I did not see this coming at all.
No.
Which, when it happened, I was like, well, duh.
Yeah.
She's been with the conglomeration, so it totally makes sense.
But she's been gone for so long.
She has.
Yeah,
so,
she had a concussion, I think, that she got at a CMLL event.
Yeah. So I don't think that there was any rumor of her coming back at all. So this was
good job.
This
guys.
was a great surprise. And
crowd popped.
Honestly, I'm really happy because I don't know, maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't get Marina. I understand that she's supposed to be like the bodyguard of the group, and I see where they're going with that, but outside of that, she's kind of boring to me. So adding Willow into this, I think, is what she needs.
Yeah.
Because for a while, she's just kind of standing there waiting for Mox to tell her to hit her spot, right? So I'm kind of happy that Willow is going to be inserting herself into this, because to me, it's what she needs. It's what Marina needs, I think, because
no shoe wearing weirdo.
I don't know. I've never gotten her, really, because I never understood her when she was with Shayna. Right, in the next
right. Bless.
I didn't understand her then, and I see what Mox sees in her, and I understand it, but
and Roddy loves her dearly.
Very boring. to me. So I think adding Willow into this is exactly what needs to happen.
She's got presence. She's got but yeah, at this point she's just kind of an accessory. And
but presence can only get you so far.
Yeah,
Yes.
I feel like
it's time to see her actually get to cut loose on her own, in her own right. Because obviously they're not going to
girl in the boys group.
They're not going to have the Death Riders charge the ring during a women's match and and break Layla Hirsch's ankle with a hammer or something.
They're not going to do that, right? And I mean, they've come pretty far with stuff like that, but at the same time, like Marina will beat up on other guys, right? That they have in the group, but like you said, they're not going to come down in the middle of a women's match and defend her. So it'll be really interesting to see what they're going to do going forward, but I think it needs to happen.
Really, we're at the point now where there is just a lot of setup for what the next few months are going to do. And I don't mind that because the chaos feels all very directional. It all feels like they're bringing a bunch of crazy elements in, but everything is pointing towards something new.
Yeah.
Because we do still have a world title match going on as Willow and Marina roll out of the ring fighting. And Willow is still swinging at her as they fall off the apron. And just a great moment.
And then just go into the crowd. Like,
that was a bump, too.
But so Mox and Cassidy are now the two left in the ring. The case is lying there, and we get the moment that AEW's had a lot of where the face picks up the weapon and decides, do I use it or do I want to win this? And Cassidy hilariously does not debate this. As soon as Mox comes out of the corner, OC nails it. There is no debate.
I loved that.
It made me think of that quote he said when they were all together as the trios, and he was like, oh, we're going to cheat like hell. We're going to cheat like hell. Like... My brain was like, yeah!
No, it makes sense.
And it was the one moment where for a split second I actually thought OC might take this. Because he goes for the pin and Mox barely kicks out and the crowd freaks.
It was like 3.9999 or 2.99999. Like it was very, very close. It was a great near fall.
And so Mox rolls away. The ref is checking on him for a second. And then the last member of the Death Riders, Wheeler Yuta, just basically drive-bys through the ring. Just hits Cassidy with a running knee, barely slows down and slides out. Mox gets Cassidy up for a Death Rider and pins him for the 3.
I need to have hooded sweatshirts outlawed. Outlawed in wrestling interferences. I saw too many when it came to the bloodline, and I'm sick of you putting a sweatshirt with a hood over your head and thinking I don't know who you are. Like I see your face. I see your face. Unless you do the tight face, right? Tight face.
I get it as sort of
I don't know. I'm so over the hooded sweatshirt reveal. Like I'm so over it.
I get it because you want to have somebody in the crowd, like in a position so they can run in and do their spot really quickly. And if it's obviously Wheeler Yuta in like a ball cap sitting there, everybody's going to know it.
But also we don't.
But yeah, when they try to make it a reveal, it's just always so.
But Robert, he was the only one.
He was the only one. That's it. And it's like also the biggest friend that. Orange had it was
like,
Yuta.
It's like the Kyle Fletcher at the last one. You're like, who could it possibly be? This over 6 foot tall man. Like, I don't know. It has lost its appeal because the bloodline has used it over and over and over again.
I want someone to come in with like a blanket. Like something stupid.
Like a Snuggie.
Yes.
Right?
Like literally something you can't see. Like literally that much of a mouth is showing. Yes.
Or just somebody like gets up from the ring and they've had like a tan blanket over them, but they've just been there the whole time.
No, I want the Kane moment. I want poosh.
It's lazy. It's lazy.
In this case, I was actually not sure, and I'm still not, if they were trying to make it a surprise or if it just he had the hood to be disguised in the crowd and he didn't really take it down when he came running in for his spot.
No, but he jumped over the barricade, still had it on, and then was like crawling, like Mission Impossible style, like dun 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 dun. Like it was to me, it was just really funny and more comical than anything else. But yeah, that's just my rant about sweatshirts.
So yeah, the match, but of course the show is not done, even though the match is over, because as we all know now, when you lose a match to Jon Moxley at this point, you have forfeited your life. So he holds Orange Cassidy down while Wheeler, for once, gets something from under the ring that actually has a good reason for being there. A bottle of the disinfectant they apparently use to sanitize the ring, and they start pouring that over Cassidy's face and into his open mouth. Let's see, who is it that... So while they're still doing this, suddenly Hangman Page comes charging in, nails Wheeler with a chair, and stares down Moxley, who for the first time in a while looks like he is not quite sure what to do.
Yeah.
This didn't make sense to me.
Okay. So
Sorry to
Hangman
whisper, but
first
yeah.
arriving, I was a little bit like, wait, what? What is his interest in this? And then Christian Cage comes out, hits Mox from behind with a kill switch, and it's like, okay, Hangman and Christian have been like tentative allies because they both hate Jay White. And when Hangman picks up the contract thing, gives it to Christian, you can see Christian saying, I'll give you the first shot, before Hangman releases it and lets him take it. So this is his way of getting back into the world title picture, allying himself with Christian for his cash-in. Unfortunately, Hangman then leaves, which allows Jay White to come running in just to screw over Hangman. And
Like, why?
Y'all.
Again, this just, it seemed very convoluted to me. Like, hearing your explanation, sure, that kind of makes sense. But, like, we already had a really good end of a match that had a lot of run-ins and, like, all this stuff. And, like, I don't know. It just didn't make much sense to me to bring in all these other people. And then you're like, oh, yeah, Christian Cage is here. Like, it just felt very, like, forced to me.
My ADHD was like, wait, what?
Right.
what I liked about it, admittedly, this is me thinking they're going to play this out, and that it's not just a lot of like, oh, and remember this guy. But I like the idea of this indicating that even though, the Death Riders win, Mox retains, they're walking out still the world champion, but things are out of their control now. People they're not accounting for are running in. They have made themselves a threat to the entire company, and that's made them a bigger target than they might be ready to handle. And so, like, they were ready for the conglomeration. They were maybe even ready for Darby, though they kind of forget about him for a moment with all this.
Until he runs them over with a car.
Until Darby runs over, like, smashes a car into the pickup. And even though they set it up, so, like, you see the car hit, you have a moment where they're getting a key for another SUV, piling in and driving off, and then we pan back to see Darby. Plenty of time for a stunt driver to get clear of the car and Darby to get into position. No, by all accounts, Darby Allin actually was driving the car that slammed into that pickup at high speed.
Wasn't that a thing? Like, his uncle, didn't he pass in it? Well, I think there were other instances that made that happen, but that's wild.
That's really the only thing initially. Again, now that I'm hearing you like explain it like that, the deeper part of it, sure, like I can understand why all the other people ran in. That's the only part that made sense to me.
Yeah.
Because Darby has been involved with the Death Riders and from the beginning of all of this starting.
And stepping up, yes.
Right, exactly. So, like, to me, Hangman, Jay White, and Christian Cage have not been a part of this. And everyone who has been a part of it is, like, the ones who are stepping up to be main event guys. These guys have been main event guys. Like, maybe Jay White aside. But, like, Hangman has had his time, as champion. Christian has had time as champion, right? So, like...
But they wanted to remind all of us that he had that contract.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But, like,
that's it.
as for, like...
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt like we're like, okay, sure, that kind of makes sense. But, like... We're telling two different stories here, and we're trying to make them fit together.
I'll just go back real quick to the story that was going on in WWE when I started watching pro wrestling. It was WWF then, was the invasion angle of WCW coming over after they were acquired. And again, looking back now, I understand there was a lot that was disappointing and a lot that people do not like about that angle now. But at the time, what was so cool to me was that there was this story that affected everybody in the company. Like, everybody was on one side or the other. And that just felt like that affected every match you saw, every story. And it's hard to book an angle like that because that requires a lot of moving pieces and creative. I like the idea of the Death Rider story spilling to that eventually everybody is going to be having to take a position on Jon Moxley and his group and what they're doing to the company. Yeah. Whether it's an opportunist like Christian trying to come up with something for himself, whether it's Hangman just kind of coming in swinging wildly and maybe find his way back to the Angels, or Darby, who, this is my theory, is going to keep throwing himself literally and metaphorically at them. I think he is going to lose a match to almost every member of the Death Riders, and he's going to lose it brutally, but he's going to keep coming back, and eventually Mox is going to give him a title shot because he's thinking, the only way I get this guy to stop bothering us is to kill him myself.
And he's the one that takes it?
That's when I think how that's going to happen.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. I think Darby is going to be the one that's going to take it from Mox, but it's going to take that, right, that story to get him to that. And that's super interesting. I would want to see that.
And I think that's
sure.
a ways off. I think there are a few matches in between, few pay-per-views in between, but that's where it'd be cool to see this go.
Yeah.
All right, we've been talking very fast because we have gone for
Dude, we had a lot to say, apparently.
Yes. So if it's okay with y'all, I think we're going to go ahead and move into our own go home for the evening.
That's fine. Go for it.
As you could probably tell, I had up and down feelings. I liked where this ended up. A lot of the stuff that needed to land really did, but it does show some parts of AEW that are a little bit saggy right now, a little bit cold.
Yeah.
I gave it 3 out of 5, which is probably the ratio of bones that Darby has cracked or broken in his body by this point.
I mean, I think it is fair to say that, like, when a company is hot, it can do no wrong.
Yep.
Right? Because we've seen pay-per-views from AEW where, like, there's not a bad thing on this.
Yes.
Right? And then when they are, I wouldn't say cold, but, like, maybe lukewarm to maybe, like, tepid.
Yep.
Right? Like, people will start to nitpick, and you will start to find things that you can pick apart. And so it's like, in certain instances, you can do no right when you're cold versus when you're hot. So like
the rose glasses are, not as rosy.
I think that they're kind of going through, I mean, I think this mock storyline is one of the best things that they got going for it. There's a lot of good things that they have going. I just think there's some things that are just not clicking, and I got to figure out how to make it click.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, well, normally David would ask, but do any of you want to share social media tags or handles?
I am still currently taking a hiatus. I'm on Lemonade.
Yeah.
But I don't have really an account. I just like to look at recipes there. I do know, I mean, coming up, I'm sure we have other stuff coming up, but I know that Robert, we have Long Walk Talks Lost.
Yes.
Right?
Woo!
So
we're going to be releasing an episode on the movie Brick that we watched, starring Lost cast member Emily DeRavin.
Oh, nice.
And then starting our review of season 2 in 2025.
That's awesome. I think this is a great show to have on the network, because like everyone, even if I've never seen Lost, right? Like I never saw it when it came out. I still haven't seen it, but like,
sorry about all the spoilers.
I listen to How Did This Get Made all the time, and I never watch any of the movies.
Exactly.
But it just, and I actually have people who say that they listen to this show and they don't watch wrestling.
Oh,
right? But
nice.
they like to listen to our commentary about it, even though they don't know who the hell we're talking about. But they just find, the commentary and the banter interesting. And that's kind of how I feel about y'all's show, is that I like the banter and the commentary that you guys have, even though I don't know who you're talking about. So I say, from someone who doesn't know Lost, like, it is a really good show to listen to.
I'm now tickled by the idea of like actually showing you pictures of the cast and characters, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's John Locke."
Actually, that would be really fun. We need to try to get a visual medium into this,
or just show you the picture.
somehow.
Like, who do you take a guess?
Yeah. Well, Robert, if anyone wants to follow you, since you seem to be the only one out of us that is still on socials, where can they do that?
I am trying to grow a new garden on Blueski at RedbeardRob17.
I want people to call it Blueski. It sounds so wholesome.
I call it Shabluski.
Shabluski. I love it.
All right. And so with that, I am going to, oh my gosh, 2 hours and 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Folks, if you got out of bed this morning, had something lovely, you had a job to go to, this match is over, you just won by a pinfall. This is a work.